As Sex Education wraps up its journey, it does so with a bang in its packed finale. It's a farewell that takes on the biggest storylines with gusto. Despite some of the cast leaving before the final lap, this beloved British coming-of-age series on Netflix manages to deliver a pretty satisfying send-off. Plus, it leaves us eager to see what the future holds for Otis, Maeve, Eric, and their Moordale crew. In the final season, the gang finds themselves in fresh new surroundings. Maeve jet-sets to the US for her study abroad adventure, while Otis and the gang settle into their new digs at Cavendish College. And it's in the 8th episode of this epic season where things hit a climax. Otis takes a long, hard look at his relationship with Maeve, especially after she decides to pursue her writing program stateside. Meanwhile, Eric's got his own emotional turmoil to grapple with, a subplot that's been simmering throughout the season. Cavendish College goes into full-blown panic mode when Cal goes missing, and on top of that, Jean's got her hands full sorting out family matters, both past and present. The good news? Netflix blessed Sex Education's finale with some extra screen time so it can do justice to all these interconnected stories. It's a wild ride from start to finish. What's next for Maeve and Otis? Right from the beginning, Sex Education had us thinking that Maeve and Otis were destined to be together, and Season 4 was like their final shot at sealing the deal. For most of the season, it seemed like they were heading in that direction, keeping that promise alive. But, and here's the twist, when all is said and done, they decide to go their separate ways. Maeve's decision to head back to the US is like her way of finally moving on, and it's pretty much the opposite of what Otis wants, as he's all about staying put in their cozy little hometown. They do share one last night together before Maeve's big departure, which is kind of bittersweet. The show ends with Otis reading a heartfelt letter from Maeve, and it kind of feels like that's the closing chapter on any potential romance between them down the road. Eric becomes a pastor. So, Eric's journey in Sex Education Season 4 is pretty intense. He's dealing with the intersection of his religion and his sexuality all along the way. Now, moving to the more open-minded environment of Cavendish College does give him some breathing room to be himself, but there's a hidden struggle. You see, there's this whole thing about him being baptized in his church, and it's like this internal battle he's quietly fighting. But then, in this big showdown with God herself, played by Jodie Turner-Smith, Eric gets a divine revelation. He learns that his destiny is all about spreading the message that God loves everyone for who they are. And that, my friend, is a game changer. It's like a wake-up call that lights a fire under him to become a more accepting and inclusive pastor. Eric's story is a roller coaster of self-discovery, and it's a standout arc in the season for sure. Do Otis and Eric mend their friendship? Absolutely. The heart and soul of Sex Education is undeniably the friendship between Otis and Eric. So, when they hit a rough patch in Season 4, it stings a bit. It's like a series of misunderstandings and personal issues start piling up, and then the big elephant in the room rears its head, Otis not fully grasping the depth of Eric's struggles as a queer person of color from a middle-class family. Now it's fair to say that the show could have delved even deeper into this storyline, but it settles with the promise that Otis will step up and start having those tough conversations with his best bud. It's all about growth and learning, right? Their friendship may have its hiccups, but the hope is that they'll come out of it stronger and more understanding than ever. It's a real-life lesson that the show throws into the mix, making it all the more relatable. Otis and his new rival, oh boy, Otis has quite the journey in Sex Education Season 4. So his main deal this time around is facing off with a new kid on the block, who's also in the sex therapy game at Cavendish. This rivalry takes up a big chunk of the season, especially when it comes out that O and Ruby have some serious history. But wait for it. In the big finale, Otis and O actually bury the hatchet. They figure out that they both have something to offer when it comes to sex therapy at school. It's like a can't beat 'em, join 'em moment, but we're left hanging on whether they'll actually team up or not. Adam and Mr. Groff fix their relationship. Even though they're kind of in their own world in Season 4 of Sex Education, the show manages to give the Groffs a pretty heartwarming send-off. After years of a rocky relationship, Adam and Mr. Groff finally begin to mend things. It all kicks off with Mr. Groff working through his personal stuff. They share one of the most touching moments of the season when Mr. Groff opens up and tells his son that he loves him. It's like a big emotional turning point for them, and it's a tearjerker for sure. The Groff's storyline is a hidden gem in this season. Jean fixes things with her sister and raises Joy. All right, buckle up for some family drama in Sex Education Season 4. Jean's got a sister named Joanna, and their relationship is, well, complicated. There's this unspoken tension between them, but as the season unfolds, they start having these deep heart-to-heart chats, and it's like therapy on steroids. Now, remember that mystery about Baby Joy's father from Season 3? Well, brace yourself for this twist. It's Dan, a pretty random recurring character. But here's the thing, regardless of this biological link, Jean decides to take on the single-parent gig with the support of Joanna and Otis. It's a family affair that ties up neatly by the end of the show. Isaac and Amy? Who would have thought? Hold on to your seats because Season 4 of Sex Education throws us a curveball with an unexpected love story. Amy and Isaac find themselves spending more and more time together after they both start at Cavendish College, and believe it or not, this leads to romance blooming between them. But hey, love's never straightforward, right? First off, they've got to navigate the tricky waters of Maeve, considering she used to date Isaac. That's a whole bucket of awkwardness. But here's where it gets real. Amy finally confronts and works through the trauma of her past sexual assault. It's a heavy storyline that adds depth to their relationship and to Amy's character development. So, amidst all the teenage drama, it's a reminder that Sex Education isn't afraid to tackle some serious issues. Ruby is fine without Otis. Ruby is like a shining star, isn't she? Her character really takes a great turn, and it's safe to say she's one of the best things about the season. Ruby's on a redemption journey, and she totally nails it by becoming a real force for good. What's cool is that we get to dive a bit deeper into her backstory, especially her history with O. But here's the icing on the cake. By the end of the series, she finally finds herself some genuine friends, especially after being instrumental in helping find Cal. It's like watching her blossom into this person who's truly valued and appreciated. Plus, the fact that she's expanding her social circle beyond just Otis is the perfect cherry on top of her character development. It's heartwarming stuff. The possibility of a new season or spin-offs. You know, as much as we all love Sex Education, it was bound to wrap up with Season 4. There's a point where you've got to let a good story breathe and not overstay its welcome. Plus, behind the scenes, the cast is spreading their wings, with Nkuti Gatwa even taking on the role of the next Doctor Who. That's pretty huge. But here's the exciting part. Creator Laurie Nunn has teased the possibility of spin-offs in the Sex Education universe. That's like dangling a carrot of hope in front of us fans. They could dive deeper into some existing characters' stories or maybe introduce a brand new generation at Moordale. The possibilities are endless, and Netflix has the power to revive the series whenever they want. So while it's a goodbye, for now, it's not a forever farewell. That brings us to the end of today's video. What did you think about this new season? Do let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, then please like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.